By this point, you have built a strong path from your research question to participant-facing interview questions. You have translated the research question into human experience, identified experiential layers, written sub-questions, shaped those sub-questions into interview questions, and checked the questions against your qualitative approach. Now you need to check whether the questions are actually answerable. This sounds simple, but it is one of the most important parts of interview design. A question can be open-ended, aligned, approach-aware, and still difficult for a participant to answer. An answerable question gives participants a place to begin. It helps them know what kind of response you are inviting. A moment, a memory, a story, a process, a feeling, a decision, or a reflection. An unanswerable question leaves participants guessing. They may not know what you mean, how much detail you want, whether you are asking for an opinion or an example, or whether they are supposed to analyze the whole phenomenon for you. Use a simple answerability routine. First, can the participant understand the language? Second, can they locate an experience? Third, are you asking one thing at a time? Fourth, can they answer without doing your analysis for you? Those 4 checks help you see the question from the participant's side. The question may make perfect sense to you because you know the theory, the problem, and the purpose of the study, but the participant only hears the question in the moment. Start with language. A common mistake is writing questions that use researcher language instead of participant language. For example, a researcher might ask, how do you conceptualize your academic agency in relation to AI-mediated support? That question may connect to the study, but it is not easy to answer in conversation. The participant has to stop and decode several terms. Conceptualize, academic agency, AI-mediated support. By the time they understand the question, they may have moved away from memory and into performance. A more answerable version would be, when you use AI for schoolwork, what do you notice about what you can do on your own? This question still points toward agency and independence, but it uses language the participant can enter. Notice the difference. The stronger question does not ask the participant to define a concept. It asks them to notice something from their own experience. This does not mean you remove complexity from the study. It means you preserve the meaning of the research concept while changing the language into something the participant can answer. The second check is whether the participant can locate an experience. Some questions are hard to answer because they are too abstract, too broad, or too disconnected from a specific situation. For example, how has AI transformed your academic independence? May sound qualitative, but it is too large. It asks the participant to summarize a transformation. A more answerable version would be, can you tell me about a time when you used AI while starting or completing an assignment? Now the participant has a memory to enter. Time frame can also help participants locate an experience. How do you use AI? Maybe too broad. Are you asking about the first time they used it, their usual routine, their most recent assignment, or their overall opinion? A more answerable version would be, think about the last assignment where you used AI. What did you use it for? This gives the participant a specific time frame and a clear entry point. You can also ask about a typical pattern. When you usually begin an assignment, where does AI fit into that process? That invites routine rather than one specific memory. Both versions are answerable, but they invite different kinds of data. One invites a specific example. The other invites a pattern. The key is that the participant knows what kind of answer you are asking for. The third check is whether you are asking one thing at a time. Novice researchers often combine several ideas into one question because they are trying to be thorough. For example, how do you feel about using AI, and how does it affect your confidence, independence, motivation, and relationship with teachers? That question is overloaded. The participant may answer only the first part, forget the middle, or give a general response because there are too many directions to follow. A stronger approach is to separate the ideas. You might ask first, can you describe a time when you used AI for an assignment? Then later ask, what did you notice about your confidence while working on that assignment? One clear question is better than one crowded question. If the participant has to hold 5 parts in their head, the question is no longer helping them. The fourth check is whether the participant can answer without doing your analysis for you. Some questions ask participants to explain the whole study instead of describing their own experience. For example, why do you think AI increases independence for learners with dyslexia? This question assumes a conclusion and asks the participant to explain it. A more answerable version would be, can you describe what happened the last time you used AI while doing part of an assignment on your own? This lets the participant describe the experience before you ask for interpretation. You can always ask reflective questions later, but if you ask for explanation before experience, you may get a general opinion instead of rich data. Another version of this problem is asking essay prompt questions. These questions may be open-ended, but they are not conversational. For example, discuss the role of AI in the development of independent learning behaviors among students with dyslexia. That is not an interview question. That is an assignment prompt. A stronger version would be, when you are trying to work through an assignment on your own, where does AI usually fit, if at all? This sounds like something a person can respond to in conversation. A good interview question should be easy to hear. Participants should not need to reread it, decode it, or organize an essay in their heads before they begin. Now let's apply the answerability routine to the AI and dyslexia example. Suppose your subquestion is, how do learners describe beginning and continuing academic tasks when AI support is available? A less answerable interview question would be, how does AI-mediated academic support influence your task initiation and persistence? This question may be aligned, but the language is not participant-friendly. A more answerable question would be, can you walk me through a time when you used AI to get started on an assignment? This question invites a specific memory and a sequence. You might follow with, what happened after you got started? That follow-up helps you understand persistence without using the word persistence. Now suppose the subquestion is about meaning. How do learners make sense of their own capability when they use AI support during academic work? A less answerable question would be, how do you interpret your capability in relation to AI-supported learning? That wording is too abstract. A more answerable question would be, when you use AI for schoolwork, what do you notice about what you can do on your own? That question brings capability into participant language. You might follow with, can you remember a moment when you noticed what you could do on your own? Now the participant can move from reflection into experience. Now suppose the subquestion is about change over time. How do learners describe changes in their independence as they continue using AI tools for academic tasks? A less answerable question would be, how has your independence evolved through repeated AI use? That may sound sophisticated, but it asks for a polished summary. A more answerable question would be, think back to when you first started using AI for schoolwork. What felt different then compared with now? This gives the participant a comparison they can work with. You might follow with, walk me through how the way you use AI for schoolwork has changed, if it has. This leaves room for change, no change, or mixed change. Use the 4 checks on every interview question. Can the participant understand the language? Can they locate an experience? Are you asking one thing at a time? Can they answer without doing your analysis for you? If a question fails one of these checks, revise it. If the question is too abstract, ask for a time, a moment, or an example. If it is too broad, add a time frame or situation. If the question is overloaded, split it into smaller questions. If it uses researcher language, translate the concept into participant language. If it asks for analysis too early, ask for experience first and interpretation later. This does not mean every question must be simple. It means every question must be answerable. You can ask about complex experiences, but the doorway into the question needs to be clear. That is the difference between depth and difficulty. A deep question invites rich experience. A difficult question makes the participant work too hard just to understand what is being asked. Strong interview questions help participants remember, describe, and reflect. They do not make participants decode the study. Before finalizing your protocol, read each question as if you were hearing it for the first time. Ask yourself, would I know where to begin? If the answer is no, the question probably needs revision. Give the participant a clearer doorway. A moment, a situation, a time frame, a comparison, or a concrete experience. Writing questions people can actually answer is not about lowering the rigor of your study. It is about making rigor possible. The participant can only give you rich data if the question gives them a way in. The goal is not to make questions simple. The goal is to give participants a clear way into complex experience.